Ouachita One Table. Ouachita One Table podcast is a deeper discussion of issues facing our business communities. Over this series, we'll invite community leaders and businesses, the arts, nonprofits, culture, and government as we discuss the issues that strike at the heart of the Chamber's mission for the greater good of our parish. Topics such as workforce development, education, quality of life, economic development, and more. Ouachita One Table. This podcast is a partnership project of the Monroe and West Monroe West Ouachita Chambers of Commerce and was produced by Godly Works Productions in the Louisiana Catalyst Podcast Studios at the Benoit Community Center. Now, here are your hosts, Roy Heatherly and Christopher Kelly.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Roy Heatherly with the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, and like always, I'm joined by my good friend today for Ouachita One Table,
Christopher Kelly with West Monroe West Ouachita Chamber of Commerce, and we have a special guest today.
Absolutely, we do. So, Charles Butcher, he is the director of the Monroe Regional Airport. Did I get that right, Charles?
That's correct.
That is correct. And Charles, you've been here a year now?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into the airport because we are so blessed to have our airport.
Well, thank you. I moved here from Arkansas. Lived in Northwest Arkansas for 20 years at the Northwest Arkansas National Airport. Was in various roles. Wasn't the airport director, but I was a director. I was lucky enough to get this opportunity. The mayor interviewed me and liked me enough to give me the job. So I appreciate that. And we've had a lot of things that we've worked on the last year and a half. We've got some big projects at the airport that we're working on, and moving forward, I think we've got a lot of positive things going on at the airport.
So we want to talk about those projects in just a minute, but how do you like Monroe?
I like
Monroe?
it. Yeah, it's great. I'm originally from eastern Arkansas, so it's pretty humid, and it's basically the same temperament of weather that I'm from.
Traded
so
same for
yeah,
same.
yeah. So I'm used to it. I know, people that come here initially sometimes think, oh, it's so hot, but it is hot. But it's also nice in the wintertime. I come from a little bit northern climate compared to here, and we'd have winter operations we have to do, and thankfully we don't have that here.
Right.
So other than last year, right before I started, I guess you guys
Yeah.
had a snowstorm, an ice storm. But
Is it unusual for a city our size to have the airport that we have and be served by American and Delta?
Very much so. Most airports, cities these size, are lucky to have one carrier, and we're lucky enough to have American and Delta. Of course, we lost the United service the first of the year, but that's been pretty much going throughout the country. It's not just here. Alexandria lost their United service 1st of June, so they're pulling out of a lot of markets, and we're thankful to have the ones that we have.
Absolutely.
But as a regional hub, I just flew just this past weekend. Things have changed at Monroe Regional. It's easier to get in and out. The staff is got a better attitude. We had a great interaction. Technology is being used. It feels clean. It feels open. It feels friendly. It feels light. So what challenges have you implemented to make these?
Well, I think you have to meet with your staff and really get to know them, and let them know that they're the ones, the boots on the ground. They're the ones that keep, I'm up here and they're down here. So anything I can do to help them or, just make sure that there's always a positive attitude from me and not a lot of negative. If I see something, I want to make sure that they know that, hey, I appreciate what you're doing, but hey, we might have to do this over here.
Right.
But I appreciate what you're doing overall. But I think we got a good staff out there. We did have some issues with, not really issues, but there were some people here that might not wanted to work at the airport. And I think everybody we've got now is bought in, and they're excited about the airport, and they like working there. And that's what we want. We want people that want to be there,
Because they're there early in the morning
Yeah, they
until
are.
late
Yes,
in the
they are.
evening. Yeah.
So tell us your service area. Tell us really what is our area.
Well, the service area pretty much goes into southeast Arkansas, and it goes down close to south of Columbia, over to Rayville, almost over to the Louisiana state line. So we have, and of course Ruston, as we're going west, it doesn't go all the way to Shreveport because there's some overlap
Sure.
there, but a little bit west of Ruston. So we've got a pretty big circle there that we pull from, and we're kind of in a good way and a bad way. There's not a lot of large cities around Monroe, so that helps the airport. So the convenience aspect of what we have, our parking, thankfully it's pretty easy to get in and out of
Yes,
it
it
for
is.
those that
Yes,
have
it
flown.
is.
So, you go to Shreveport, you go to Jackson, you got to walk further to get to the terminal. And, we want to make sure that we emphasize, the convenience aspect of,
Right.
of flying in and out of Monroe. And we want a hometown feel too. We want to
Sure.
make sure that everybody feels comfortable when they're coming in and out.
And so our friend Nell at the Chenault Museum just had an air show that you were very active with. Tell us a little bit about that.
It went great. Our only complaint was really the heat, and we're going to work on that if we have one.
Roy will order you
Yeah,
cooler
yeah,
weather
yeah,
next
yeah.
year.
So we're going to try to have it if we do it next year. We haven't decided yet. We've had our post air show meeting, and we're kind of debating on a few things. But
Sure.
we're going to have it earlier or later. That was really and a few tweaks we need to make along the way.
But for a first year,
yeah,
my gosh, what an event.
It really was. We had a lot of good acts, and I think overall it was very well received. And very little,
Yes.
So
very
for
little
those-
problems.
For those that didn't go,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the event itself.
Well, we had, I think we had like 7 or 8 acts, and a lot of them were fairly local. Kevin Coleman obviously lives in Shreveport. Had another fellow that's from Longview, Texas. Of course, Jimmy lives here. Jimmy Fordham. He's part of the air show aerobatic team. Steve Gufson is also from Vicksburg. So that's 2 of the 4 members are in this relative area. Jimmy was a big supporter of the air show from the start. He's a great guy and really wanted to showcase Monroe and bring people in. And he's the one that got a lot of the acts together. And Holly Boudreau was also, works for the Chenault Museum, did a great job. Miss Nell always does a good job.
She's
Nell
incredible.
Calloway
Incredible.
and try to talk to her. I talk to her about once a month, or if not before. We've got a few things that we're working on now for the airport that will be good in the future.
So did you know the rich aviation history here before you got here?
Well, I knew it. I knew there was a lot of aviation history here. When I was in graduate school, I did a paper on Delta Airlines, and I found out that it started here. So,
Right.
I knew that. I knew there were, a lot of Chenault, obviously,
Sure.
from here. Claire Chenault's from here. I knew his background. There's a lot of great aviation historical things that have happened here in Monroe. Of course, the air base was the air base back in that's how the airport was actually built, was during World War II, and training navigators. And that's very essential to, our military and in this economy back then even. But we're very happy with the military.
In good old
history.
Monroe, Louisiana.
Yeah, good old
it's
Monroe,
a
Louisiana.
rich history.
What I love, though, that really tickles me is that you've brought art into the museum again.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It is. I'm a big proponent of art. I love art. I like to go to art museums. So, if we can bring some local artists in, especially when the people are coming in and out of the airport, they have a chance to
Yep.
look. And they're for sale. If you, honestly, I don't know how much they are off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I've seen them, but I don't. But they are local artists, and we've got a kind of cooperative agreement with Mazur Museum, and the Northeast Louisiana Art Council also, allows them to kind of got that with them. So it's worked great. I think it's every 6 months they do a rotating art exhibit. So, and we've got some upstairs. They're pretty permanent. So.
But I love that it's re-envisioning what the space can do. You're traveling, you're fatigued, and it brings just a little bit of culture, a little bit of just a respite for your mind. Get engaged with something else. Pause for a moment. You're waiting on your bag. Why not get a little culture back injected? Very cool.
But it also, you're from here, Chris, so you travel in and out, but we get a lot of out-of-town people
Sure.
coming in, and it is their first experience or exposure to our area.
And that voice.
Yeah, in that voice. And that sends a really, really great message for us.
Absolutely. We consider it the front door of the area. That's what we called, when I worked at the other airport, our airport director always said that we're the front door of the community. So we want to make sure that, we present ourselves in a good fashion when they're coming in. We want to make sure that the airport's clean. We want to make sure that they can see that this is a good place to live. This is a good place to be. So we want them to come back.
Right.
And spend money.
And spend money.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
How many visitors or how many people travel through the airport a year?
Well, Pre-COVID, we had about 120,000 enplanements. The FAA counts enplanements, so you're looking at 240 enplanements and deplanements coming in and out. I haven't got the latest estimates on this year, but we're close to that. We're up to 80-85% of where they were pre-COVID. Of course, with the COVID situation, everything was down. So
Sure.
we can't really, we can't really use that as a comparison to what pre-COVID, post-COVID is doing.
So, but things are back. People are traveling. I can tell you firsthand this weekend. And traveling through 3 different airports. People are traveling again.
They are.
So, what is the new post-COVID challenges, though?
Well, I think a lot of the challenges are with the airlines themselves. There's a pilot shortage, and that's the biggest thing that you're going to hear when you're traveling is, it's a lot of the older pilots retired during COVID, took an early retirement, and they just don't have enough pilots to fill the positions to fly the planes. So that's really what we're experiencing now. When we lost United, that was really one of the main things that we lost the service. They just don't have enough pilots to fly their planes. And it's going to be a problem for the future, and there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, our flights are fairly full. In fact, American and Delta have just started. They've upgraded the aircraft to first-class service, so we have first-class service out of Monroe, which is great, for the business traveler or whoever else wants to fly. You get a bigger seat, and they're larger aircraft, so we're excited about that. Delta just started, I think, July the 1st with their first-class service.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's the whole experience though is changed. I keep going back to it just because it had been so long, because I took a break of travel during COVID. It's just easier, But before, our perception was, well, it'll probably be easier to drive to Dallas and then get on the plane. Probably be easier to drive to Jackson. It's not really true.
Right.
It's service in our backyard, and price points are back where they were. It's competitive again.
And one thing I like to emphasize is, if you don't use it, we're going to lose the service. So the airport has no control over, I like to compare it to what we're like the mall. We rent space to the airlines, to the rental cars. So we want the public to use our services. If not, there's a chance we could lose it. So, we want you to fly out of Monroe. Sure. Absolutely.
So is that the biggest takeaway that our community and our business community can hear is use it or we're going to lose it?
That's one of the biggest things that we need to talk about. We definitely, and the more people that fly, the bigger aircraft that are going to come in. There's more services that we can provide. If there's no one there, I'm working on getting our restaurant open again. I've gotten a business plan from a company now that's interested. And if we don't have the traffic through the airport, they're not going to talk to us, because they're in business to make money. I mean, they're not going to just do it for the convenience of having a business there. So, it all plays into that. Rental cars. If people don't rent the cars, eventually there's not going to be a need there. So we've got to develop that need for them to stay. And, and so far it's been good. I mean, I haven't talked to the rental cars lately. We do meetings periodically with them, but everything seems to be, going well. Rental car companies themselves sold a lot of their cars during COVID. Sure. So not just here, but across the country. So it's, we're experiencing that some. There's just not enough cars to sometimes support the amount of travelers. And, that's the thing. If people are traveling, they're going to need cars. They're going to need, hotel rooms. So it all plays into it. I mean, the larger picture. And, we want to, like I said, create a good first impression. We want to make sure that they see this as a great place to come visit or live, or whatever it is they're doing business.
Because it is.
It is. So, like I said, that's the front door of the community is the airport sometimes.
Well, we're excited by the new energy, and thank you for coming. Thank you for relocating.
I've enjoyed it.
And being plugged in.
Yeah.
So, for the business community, the take-home message, like Roy said, is, use this facility, take advantage of it, price it out. You're pretty surprised that things are back competitive again.
And there's a lot, some airports have on their website a price calculator. So, they'll have, if you go to Dallas or wherever, how much it actually costs you, especially with the gas prices right now. So even if, the ticket price is a little higher here, our, parking lot is very competitive about what we charge. We're getting all new equipment. That's another thing that a lot of people ask me lately. We've just ordered it so that our equipment's old out there. So, the next few months, we're going to have all new equipment there with all new digital, all that good stuff, all new.
So, but the airport geographically sits in an interesting place for Monroe because it's surrounded by a large parcel of land, but also economic development areas. So I think that's exciting. When I flew in, literally on the screen, it talked about those parcels and the economic potential surrounding the airport. So that's really cool. You're selling, like you said, the front door. You're already selling our region for just the casual person that may be influencing those decisions.
And that goes along with the mayor. I mean, he wants to, develop the city. And, we've had several conversations about some things that we could do in the airport. I'm all for that. I mean, obviously, if we can develop the airport, that helps the city too. I mean, you're bringing in more jobs. You're bringing in, people moving to the area. So, it's a win-win.
And the vision or the outlook with the Kansas Lane, Garrett Road, all that, the connector, that growth and development there will make it easier for people to get to the airport, not only from Monroe, West Monroe, but from the region.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, whenever they do the flyover, the crossover, whatever's being called, it's going to be great. I mean, the train we have great train service, and we appreciate them, but we do get some complaints that they're stopped, and it does affect people traveling, trying to get to their, that's another thing I want to emphasize. Make sure you get to the airport within plenty of time to catch your flight. Sometimes that goes as well.
Yeah. Too tight.
Yeah. So, but I think when we get that, it's really going to open it up and really help as well. I mean, we've got good access to the airport off the interstate. We've got, obviously we got rail right there, and we've got, a port, the Ouachita's right down the road too. So, I think that Monroe is well positioned to have, good area for commerce right in there.
And a bright future because of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Charles.
Thank you, guys.
We, like always, we want to invite you back and give us an update maybe 6 months or a year from now on all the great things going on at the airport and how travel's up and employments, I think you called them, are up and everything.
I learned a new word.
Yeah. So you've been listening and watching Ouachita One Table. I'm Roy Heatherly with the Monroe Chamber, and I've been joined as always with
Christopher Kelly with the West Monroe West Ouachita Chamber, and thank you for joining us.
You've been listening to Ouachita One Table with Christopher Kelly and Roy Heatherly. This podcast is a partnership project of the Monroe and West Monroe West Ouachita Chambers of Commerce and was produced by Godly Works Production in the Louisiana Catalyst Podcast Studios at the Benoit Community Center.